Everyone's having a good day today. It's nice to see you. Let me take care of that. Today we're going to be discussing we have a couple cases to discuss today. Of course, we've been talking about the Siders case, the Siders family. But first, I want to state that this is only my opinion. Everything we discuss is all alleged, and everyone we discuss is innocent until proven guilty. But today we have a few topics to discuss, and a new video I put out, of course, new remote viewing session results video. You guys are going to have to check that out, of Nolan Wells. I think you guys are really going to like that. So we'll let a few people get up on in here, and then we'll start to go over everything. Got the Diet Coke today, of course. One of my favorite drinks, as y'all know. But it's nice to see everyone. Welcome in, welcome in. Everyone's doing good. Let's see. So we're going to be discussing Nolan Wells today, of course. I know a lot of people have been asking me about this case, what I thought about it, and ultimately what I think happened. And during my remote viewing session, I think I was able to kind of narrow down a lot of what happened, allegedly, but not everything, of course. It's going to take a couple more parts, I believe, because there's a lot of moving parts in this case right now. Let's see. All right. But yeah, so we have a lot to discuss today, but I'm going to take my time, let some people get up in here, and then we'll go through it. A few of the messages that I got yesterday was that I went too fast and people needed a recap. So we'll let a few people get up on in here, and then that way we don't need too many recaps today. A lot going on in true crime, guys. I feel like I've been talking about the Siders case now forever, but it's just not the case. But so many different things have been happening in the Siders family that it just feels like I've been covering this case forever. True crime coverage people will understand what I mean by that. Just so many moving parts. And now with Elizabeth Siders being pregnant, allegedly, that changes everything once again. It's like throwing another wrench and a curveball all in one. And of course, we got the water. Got to have the water, as I am the most hydrated man in the world. But what case do you guys have on your minds? What case are you guys following daily? I think that's the question I'm gonna ask everyone today. That's the question of the day. What case has got you guys following true crime? I know right now for me, I would say it's got to be the Nolan Wells case. The Nolan Wells case is a case that is extremely troublesome for many different reasons. And those reasons can be the fact that Nolan was supposed to be with his friends. Now, friends don't leave friends behind. I'm going to just say it like it is. Yes, they were young, 18 years old-ish, and yes, they were probably indulging. Now, I can't say that for sure, but let's just say it was 4th of July weekend. You know, they were hanging out, having fun, maybe partying. So you got to add all that in, right? Don't want to speculate too much on this case, but there is a little bit of speculation to be had, per se, especially when it's 4th of July weekend. And most teenagers, most people that age that are going to an island like that are going to try to turn up, so to speak, as the young ones would say. You know, I'm unk now, so allegedly. Oh, man. It's quite interesting to feel like you're getting older, you know? But cheers to that. And of course, we've been following the Nancy Guthrie case. That's the case we've been following. We're not going to stop following it. Still going to put that pressure on their necks to try to figure out what's going on and who this porch guy is. Last week there were reports that investigators were closing in on a suspect. A week later, no reports of that. Could it be the calm before the storm? I'm not sure. At this point, 5 months, 160 days-ish later, it's like, which avenue and what avenue can anyone go down more so than they haven't already within this case? The investigators that are super close to this case, like I've always said, I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that, because either they're closing in or they don't have much at all. And that's my opinion, right? But that's pretty much how I see it. And if they don't have much at all, then that's a huge problem. Huge problem. But I got to think they're holding some stuff close to their chests. And ultimately, hopefully that stuff is the stuff that allows them to identify this porch guy or anybody involved in this crime or the vehicle that was involved, because we all know there has to be a vehicle that was involved. This person didn't carry Nancy through the desert. Why can't they find the vehicle that was involved? Or have they? Is that something they're holding close to their chests? That would be a big piece of information. But I think if they had that information, this case would be getting closer to being solved than it already has or is, of course. But yeah, I know this was a random live. Usually I don't go live in the midday anymore, but you know what? I was like, there's enough to talk about that we should go live today. And for the people just jumping in, please like the video and subscribe. Also, we have a new video that I just dropped in regards to Nolan Wells. Unfortunately, they have found Nolan Wells unalived. Rest in peace. But there are a lot of questions about what happened to Nolan Wells. And I have my own. I think we all do that have been following this case. And I thank God that this case is getting mainstream media. And I actually found out today that Colin Kaepernick is partially paying for a private autopsy of Nolan Wells. So shout out to Colin Kaepernick for that. If and when you can ever help somebody in need, it's always a good thing, right? It's a blessing all the way around. It's a blessing for them. It's a blessing for you, because we truly are all one, I believe. Now, Colin doing this is such an amazing act of kindness, and it's such a nice gesture in a time of need that it is truly emotionally amazing and so heartwarming and forthcoming. And why they wanted to do this, I think the parents ultimately wanted to do this, was because they wanted somebody that didn't have any ties to Mississippi or any ties to law enforcement over there in Mississippi. Because allegedly, there has been a lot of problems with the Mississippi law enforcement. Now, I'm not going to say why that is. I'm not going to speculate on why that is. I believe I know why that is. But you guys can do your research to try to figure that one out. And it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. But nonetheless, it's only a good thing that the parents of Nolan Wells are getting to do this private autopsy. I hope that they get the answers they're looking for, and I hope something positive comes from this. I always say that tragic situations bring together amazing people a lot of the time. And I think this is one of those cases. I hope that people band together. I hope that people don't just see the race in this. I hope that people don't just make this something about race again. I already hear the whispers of such things. And it's like, guys, we need to treat each case Each case is a separate case, and we need to treat each case individually. Now, if there were text messages of some type of racist remarks, that's one thing. Then you can go in a direction like that. But at this point in time, we need to look at this case with individuality and not look at it as something like that. Because too many cases get looked at like that, and then ultimately people lose the plot. And the plot is that Nolan either was left behind on that island, or Nolan was forced to be left behind on that island by means of unaliving. Okay? Now, if you guys watch my Nolan Wells video, you'll have a much clearer picture on what I believe happened. Now, of course, it's only my opinion. Everything is just alleged, and everyone we discuss is innocent until proven guilty. But most of my videos, I would say 95%, I'm pretty accurate with the details. And the more I do true crime, the more I am involved within true crime, I see the more accurate I have become. So ultimately, I think that this is another case where a lot of the details that were shown to me are pretty accurate. But hopefully you guys that watch the video leave a comment or tell me your opinion, because I can always get better at this. Nobody's perfect. I'm only human. And I just try to share my gift with the world, and hopefully it helps in a positive way, because ultimately that's all I'm trying to do, is help in a positive manner and help bring clarity, help bring closure, and ultimately help bring peace, because a life without peace is a very difficult time. No matter how long it is, a life without peace, even if it's just one day, that's going to be a difficult day. So I'm trying to bring peace amongst everyone and try to be a light amongst the darkness, ultimately. So cheers to that. But how you guys doing today? I know I just went on a little rant. Sorry about that. These cases get me fired up sometimes, and sometimes I just start spewing off, because this is another case where I think injustice is happening, when justice needs to be taking place, not injustice. We need justice within these circumstances. We need people, the general public, to fight, not physically, but emotionally, because everything in life is a spiritual battle, whether you want to believe it or not, right? That's what I believe. And right now, the spiritual battle that we're having within this case of Nolan Wells is what the media is trying to paint the picture. Now, not every media source, but some of them. And all I hope for and all I pray for is that Nolan Wells gets the justice he deserves. Oh, God. We got someone backing up, guys. Hold on. Let me mute it. Looked like a telephone pole worker or someone. But yeah, I had to mute that. That gets loud. Excuse my language, but anyways, guys. So we're going to be discussing the Nolan Wells case, and if you guys have any questions about that case, feel free to fire away, ask away if you'd like. And of course, I've been talking about the Siders family. So if anybody has any questions on that case, once again, feel free to ask me. I don't have too much news in regards to the Siders family today. However, I will say this. This is one thing that I found pretty interestingly funny and just quite concerning. So apparently Gary Siders Sr. had a stroke a long time ago. Now, I don't know how long ago this was. Some people are stating it's 14 years ago. Some people are stating it's 17 years ago. So I'm just going to say it was over a decade ago. Excuse me. Allegedly, of course. Now, if anybody can narrow that down for me, if anybody knows the exact year, like how many years ago it was, fill me in, because I'd like to know that detail for the investigative purposes, of course, because some channels, I will say, and some people on YouTube are stating that they have talked to former people within law enforcement, and some of them, one person mainly, believes that it could be Gary Siders Sr. that orchestrated this whole ordeal. And he basically said, because this was his reasoning for it, and long story short, this is his reasoning. He said, well, it's his house. He said it's his son, and he's going to look at it as his grandchildren or his children even. So they were summarizing and putting the idea out there that Gary Siders Sr. could orchestrate this whole ordeal, all of the children happening, and they were kind of putting the blame on him a little bit. They were saying, well, before his stroke happened, maybe he wanted it this way, and then after his stroke, well, it remained this way. And I kind of looked at that, and I was a little dumbfounded, right? Kind of like the face you just saw me make there, because I didn't think about that. So I was like, okay, I guess you got to look at that angle, because I try to see both sides of everything and all angles within a case, right? And so I was like, okay, I guess you got to look at that. But then I thought, well, I wonder what it's like, or what he was like before the stroke, right? Because we don't have any concrete evidence of that. So it did strike me as something very interesting. Tammy says, hello, Zach and chat. Hello, Tammy. I hope you're doing great today. It's very nice to see you if you're just joining in. Today we're talking about the case of Nolan Wells. We're also talking about, of course, a few other cases. Just stopping by to say hello, said Tammy. Well, hello back to you. I hope you're having a great day. There's been quite a bit of cases we've been covering here on this channel as of late. Obviously, I broke the crazy news of Lynette Hooker possibly being unalived on the boat, the Soulmate sailboat, right? So that's quite a bit of knowledge. I've been looking into that case too, of course, trying to get you guys answers on that case more and more. So it was really the family and sources that have spoken out about the Lynette Hooker situation. So as more information comes, I'll be giving you guys more information on that. But right now, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the case of David. Okay? I told you guys we'd be getting into that case today. I told you guys I'd talk more about that case. And yesterday we talked a little bit about the case of Tyler Robinson. That's the alleged unaliver of Charlie Kirk. But I want to give you guys a little bit of knowledge and drop a little bit of knowledge about the case of David, okay? So here it is. Now, the Los Angeles medical examiner's office are being looked at. They're being looked at and investigated because they possibly leaked evidence relating to Celeste Rivas Hernandez, okay, early on when they were not allowed to do so. So this could greatly impact the case of David moving forward. Do I think it's going to stop the case in its tracks? No, I do not. However, do I think it's a very bad look for the medical examiner's office? Yes, I do. This is not a good look at all. And people need to learn that they cannot be doing any sort of thing like this. Like this reminds me of the Alex Murdaugh case, right? Because now he's getting a second trial because somebody within the case did something egregious, right? I almost just mixed two words together at once because it's such a heinous act, right? People cannot be doing these types of things, letting and allowing criminals like this to get a second chance. And I'm not saying David is going to get a second chance, but why even allow this to be a possibility within the investigation? Okay? Anybody can see this from anywhere on earth that this is not a good idea. Now, I get it. People have curiosity issues. People want to be the nosy neighbor from next door that goes, hey, what's going on over there? Except in this case, it's Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and people are playing with fire, resulting in possibly the medical examiner's office being investigated, and David potentially having this to be on his side, so to speak, right? Because it doesn't look good for them. It only makes him look a little bit better. And all you need is that little bit to slide by in a case like this, right? So if you guys didn't know that, now you know about the case of David. Told you guys I'd drop a little bit of knowledge within that case, and I thought that that was a big piece of knowledge for a lot of people that may have not been following this case as of late, because we've been talking about so many different cases as of late that the David case has just not been one of them. It's kind of been at a standstill. But recently, very recently, I found out about this information, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. Now, yesterday we talked about the case of Tyler Robinson. And I laid to bed the conspiracy theory that I do not believe there's any conspiracy going on actively that took down Charlie Kirk. I believe that what is being told to us by Lance Twiggs is the truth. And he is a very key piece of evidence. He himself, everything he's said, his DNA being on belongings related to the incident. And he also identified Tyler Robinson. And who better to identify Tyler Robinson than somebody that was living with him, aka Lance Twiggs. So for everybody that thinks that this was just some crazy incident that happened from government ties or higher ups or anybody like that, or a different country, I don't think this is the case. I think this was somebody who was very, very pissed off. And by that, I mean Tyler Robinson. And in my opinion, I think you had a little birdie in his head. Lance Twiggs may have said something here or there, may have kind of put a battery in Tyler Robinson's back, or may have not. Maybe Tyler Robinson did this all on his own in the name of honor because he felt like all the hatred that was being spewed from Charlie Kirk, even though in my opinion it wasn't hatred, but perception can be reality, right? And Tyler Robinson's perception was that Charlie was spewing hatred. And ultimately, I think it led to the unaliving of Charlie Kirk. And it's just messed up because Charlie's way of settling things was through debates. So if Tyler Robinson really wanted to, he should have debated Charlie Kirk. But it didn't seem like he had the capacity to do that. Seems like he's a very awkward person, Tyler Robinson, that maybe wasn't very good with words. Maybe he couldn't debate him. Maybe the motive is a little bit deeper than we think. Yes, maybe it is fueled with hatred, but maybe Tyler Robinson felt like he couldn't debate him. He couldn't win, in a sense. And there is no winning when you go out there and you take someone's life. So if that was the case, if that was the message that Tyler Robinson was trying to portray, he did a very terrible job at it, because now that everybody sees what has happened, seeing is believing, and I hope people believe that Tyler Robinson is a POS for what he did. And that's just the way I see it. And that's just my opinion. But I don't think people should be taken from us. Somebody like Charlie, who was a real stand-up guy, you know, that's the way I would describe him. There aren't too many words needed to describe Charlie Kirk, but I wasn't very familiar with him before all this happened. I had heard about him, excuse me, but I wasn't like watching the debates and, front and center to all this stuff. I just wasn't. Now, once I saw everything that was happening and all the debates that had happened, what Charlie stood for, some of the things he said, all of this stuff, then I realized, wow, okay, I could see why somebody would be mad, but to take someone's life over all this stuff, over some words that could have been rebutted to, right? It's just so messed up. So messed up. Charlie should still be here today doing what he loved to do and making a positive impact on the country. That's the way I see it. But, at the end of the day, I'm not going to get too deep into this because I don't like talking politics. But rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. And I hope that justice gets served. And now that Lance Twiggs has identified Tyler Robinson, it only strengthens the case for prosecution. The defense has a really, really hard case on their hands. So we'll see what happens, but I think Tyler Robinson's very, very screwed. Now, I haven't done a remote viewing session to try to see what happens ultimately within this case, and I'm not going to. However, I'm gonna let the trial just play out how it's gonna. It's in God's hands, and hopefully justice gets served. But enough with that case for today. Let's see. I don't think I have much to talk about in regards to the Guthrie case. We're still waiting to hear about which member of the media, if they planted some false evidence, right? So I guess that's the news there, but I've been talking about that for a couple days now. So there's not much to talk about in the Guthrie case. And if you guys have any information regarding that or any comments you'd like to make on the Guthrie case, feel free to put them in. Let's see. What else we got here? It's really the big case that's on my mind today is the Nolan Wells case. So I dropped the information I had about the Lynette Hooker case. Law enforcement is still going through evidence in that case. But I still do believe Brian Hooker is going to get indicted very soon. I'm still standing on that. And I believe it's going to happen very soon from all the evidence that I've garnered and gathered and from the remote viewing sessions I've done on the Lynette Hooker case. So I'll let you guys know later on in the day if anything comes up in the Nolan Wells case, if we hear anything more within that case. And for people that don't know, they did find Nolan Wells. They did recover the body, but the questions there's so many questions within this case. One of the questions I have is, why wasn't he found Sunday morning? Why wasn't he found? Why did it take until Monday? That's a big question I have. Why was he found at the most northwestern point on Horn Island? I've looked at the maps and there's a lot of questions I have, but hopefully me asking these questions can lead to a lot of sleuthing and some answers being brought forth, because too many questions is going to lead to more and more speculation, and it's going to not look good. It's not looking good. But the one positive thing that I keep reminding everyone within this case is the fact that Colin Kaepernick paid for the private autopsy to be done. My understanding is they took and flew Nolan Wells' body from Mississippi down to Washington, okay, D.C., and I think that's where they're doing the private autopsy. Now, I'm like 90% sure on that. But regardless of place, they did take Nolan Wells to a private location to do the autopsy there because they didn't want anybody to be tied to Mississippi or anybody within law enforcement in Mississippi, because there's a lot of questions going on about the law enforcement over there. And that's all I'm going to say regarding that situation. But if you're just getting in here, please like and sub up. It helps the channel grow, helps the algorithm. And currently, we've been doing pretty good lately, guys. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I'm thankful to have you guys here, have you guys at this channel. And hopefully everybody has a good day today and a good night tonight. But I will be back most likely either tonight or tomorrow with another live. And if any new information comes out regarding these cases, I'll be the first one to break it to you guys. But I just wanted to do a little quick live today, talk about the Nolan Wells case, let you guys know what I think regarding this case. And also, I was able to drop the remote viewing session results part 1 on Nolan Wells as well. Oh yeah, I do want to say this too. This is another point I wanted to make. I watched the video of Nolan Wells' parents on, I think it was Good Morning America. So shout out to them. Shout out to the news stations, the national news, to pick this case up, to try to get information, to try to solve this case even more so than it already is, and to really try to figure out what truly happened to Nolan Wells. So shout out to them for doing this. But I wanted to say I watched that, and just within the first few minutes, I could say, and I believe wholeheartedly, that Nolan Wells' parents are extremely good parents. I believe they raised him very well. And I think that they're both extremely smart. And I think that just by watching a few minutes of them, I could see that Nolan was in very good hands. And one of the things they said that was that they told Nolan, "We know you have a big heart, son." And they said that they know that that's one of his best qualities. But they also said that having that big heart sometimes gets you taken advantage of. And when I heard that, it resonated with me so well because, you know, having that empathy, having that care for everybody, you know, not just your friends, not just your family, but everybody within the world. Because truly, when you have that type of empathy, you truly look at each other as all one, like I do. You know, seeing that and hearing that and knowing Nolan is no longer with us, it just truly bothered me to my core. And I realized that that did play a part, I believe, in the tragic ending of Nolan Wells' life. And, you know, it just bothers me because that empathy can get you hurt sometimes in life, and it shouldn't. But it truly is a gift and a curse. But I'm not going to end on that note. I want to end on a good note, guys. So I appreciate you guys being here. And hopefully we get some more information regarding this case today. This case is fluid, and more information is coming pretty much by the day. And this only happened on July 4th. So this case is still fresh, right? Most cases that we've been covering lately have been dragged out. A lot of time has passed, right? The Lynette Hooker case, the Nancy Guthrie case. So this case was, well, this case has moved a lot quicker than that case, we'll just say. But I think I'm going to wrap this one up. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the live today. I've been trying to do a little more lives here and there for everybody, trying to interact with the community a little bit more, because I know you guys like the lives, and I know you guys like interacting with chat or me myself. And when I'm gone for a week, people don't like that. So I'll try not to leave you guys hanging. And I try to break the news as quick as I get it. So if we receive any new information on the Nolan Wells case, I will be the first to break it to you guys. So just want to let you guys know I'm tuned into that case. I'm going to stay tuned in. And everybody that we discuss, we got prayers for, and we're hoping for the best outcome for each and every one of them. And like I said earlier, I believe an indictment is coming on Brian Hooker in regards to Lynette Hooker's unaliving. So look out for that. Of course, that is just my opinion. Everything's alleged, and everyone we discuss here is innocent until proven guilty. But you guys know the saying, it's coming up, so here we go. little something like this. Without you guys, there'd be no me. I love you guys. It's Zach. Peace.